My dopamine receptors are fried. You know those weird videos you see on short form content services that will have a Family Guy clip playing at the top and a Subway Surfers gameplay on the bottom? Yeah, I'm hooked. Hooked bad. To the point where I don't think I can go back to regular gaming. Like, look at this pile of absolute garbage. There's only one horizontal screen. There's nowhere near enough room to put a soap cutting video on the bottom. We gotta start over. Now this is peak.
Okay, so might be slightly controversial to say, but this little thing here is the greatest handheld system of all time. No, literally, sales-wise, it sold, holy hell! The Nintendo DS is an iconic part of the 2000s and 2010s, and for some people, including myself, it truly defined parts of their childhood.
Some of my most cherished games released for this thing. Mario Kart DS, Thomas the Tank Engine Hero of the Rails, New Super Mario Bros. Wait, one of those wasn't like the other.
Development started on the handheld around about 2002, before the release of the Game Boy Advance SP. Okay, wait, actually, let's do a quick detour before discussing the actual DS, because this thing was definitely a sign of things to come. You're telling me Nintendo, around a year into development of their new folding handheld system, decide to release a GBA that happens to use a clamshell design? Very clearly a test to see how people react to such a unique handheld.
And quite clearly, the reaction was positive, because... well, what's in my hand right now? January 20th, 2004 was the day Nintendo announced the Nintendo DS, a third pillar between the GameCube and the GBA in their hardware lineup. And rather than respond to that with some sort of witty, hindsight-ful statement, I'm just going to hold up two objects that should define how this actually panned out. Yeah, that might not have been obvious enough. Let me put it into a witty, hindsight-filled statement. The DS demolished the GBA. When Nintendo says their next system is a third pillar, they're just doing preemptive damage control for if it fails. It's the reason they didn't call the DS the Nintendo Game Boy dual screen, which must have been a shock at the time. I mean, literally every Nintendo handheld since 1989 has used some form of the Game Boy branding. If you say the Virtual Boy was technically a handheld, I swear to God, I'm going to blow a fuse. But it also made sense in a way, beyond just the bullshit third pillar nonsense Nintendo were coming out with. The DS was the first step in Nintendo's new strategy in gaming. That being pandering to casuals. Gaming population expansion. Well, that was the official word for it anyways. Nintendo were trying to push into a more casual market, i.e. people who didn't really play video games. It'll become increasingly prevalent with some of the games and public domain book collections Nintendo end up pushing onto the system. But you can already tell it's there just based on the design alone. There's a fat touchscreen on the bottom. They're using the same thinking that would end up making the Wii so successful. Don't throw a bunch of buttons and triggers and sticks in the user's face, just tell them that to do this, you touch here, or you swing the remote, or you do something literally as opposed to doing it through traditional control methods. And quite clearly, it worked. After hardly spending a month on the market, the Nintendo DS had already sold 2.8 million units, a staggering feat for a handheld not even carrying the Game Boy name. With so much riding against it in its initial launch window, you'd have to assume it had some sort of star-studded lineup to help it out, right? Some killer app that could really sell people on the DS. Yeah, we get where I'm going with this. It had a game from 1996 and a demo. In full, the DS launched with Super Mario 64 DS, Feel the Magic XXXY, Madden 05, Asphalt Urban GT, the Herb Sims in the City, Spider-Man 2, and was packaged with a demo of Metroid Prime Hunters. Wow, I've definitely seen worse launch lineups. I think. Let's dive into the ones I've played. Have I played a DS launch title? Do I deserve death?
If me deserving death wasn't obvious enough by that statement alone, this disclaimer will seal the deal. The gameplay footage you're about to see is shock horror emulated. Trust me, I tried numerous solutions to showing my wall direct DS gameplay capture, but it just wasn't working out. I'm upset and disappointed in myself. Real talk, I've borrowed Super Mario 64 DS from a friend before, and from what I've played, it's an incredibly competent way to build upon the original release. It proves to everyone that the DS can do 3D to an extent. It has cool minigames. It would have been better with analog controls. I don't think there's a lot I can say that hasn't already been said about this game. You can boil most opinions down to these 3 points. It works, it has better content than the original release, but having only a D-pad or touchscreen to control with is a massive detriment. Oh god, I should talk about the touchscreen, Jesus Christ.
Anything to distract from the fact that I haven't completed Super Mario 64.
The model of DS right here is the best one. Sorry, I don't make the rules, it just is. 2 screens, both backlit, and the bottom one is a capacitive touchscreen, letting you draw all sorts of things in PictoChat. In terms of features that don't turn the system into casual central, we're blessed with 4 face buttons for the first time on a Nintendo console. It seems insignificant now, but having 4 face buttons and a whole system
system software built into this thing must have been mind-blowing in 2004, especially when you compare it to the GBA before it. This isn't a downsized image. This is real life. And it's all built into this super nice clamshell design. Well, the Lite had the good clamshell design. The original DS design was hot ass. Who made this? This was actually the original DS I got somewhere around 2009, I think. Back then, I used to have these new Super Mario Bros. Stickers on the case, which obviously were fan-made, but I used to think it was a special edition DS for some reason. Even when I took them off, I had this thought in the back of my head saying, am I devaluing this by doing this? Obviously though, I wasn't. I was just burning my childhood away. And a chunk of that childhood on my new Super Mario Bros. DS was spent playing new Super Mario Bros. I already talked about new Super Mario Bros. Oh god, what was I thinking with that haircut? Scratch that discussion, let me do it over. New Super Mario Bros. Was made in a 2D Mario drought, with the last release being Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins for the Game Boy. The Game Boy! So Nintendo opting to develop an entirely new Mario platformer as opposed to the... You know, I'm not even going to try and count all these re-releases, you can just tell it's a large amount. It was a shock, to say the least. When I first played New Super Mario Bros., it was the best game ever, out of the 5 I had played. Like, I know this game isn't the best anymore, but it's still a decently designed, well-controlling 2D platformer by Nintendo. And even today, it's still a great game. It's just more of an easy option now, like, oh, I've got nothing better to do tonight, let's boot up New Super Mario Bros. For the 48th time. But the DS wasn't done there with Mario. You could now finally bring Mario Party DS with you on the go. So you can finally be that one friend at the function who has Mario Party ready to go at all times. Mario Party DS is probably the first handheld Mario Party that actually feels like Mario Party. 5 boards, that's the same amount as Mario Party Superstars on the Switch. Jesus Christ. There's a single player only story mode if you're a fucking loser, but party mode can be played in full with download play. Yeah, sure, you'll need to bring together 4 systems to play it, but you'll only need 1 game cart to play every board and minigame in the entire game. That's pretty cool. Even today. But what isn't cool is the amount of Mario on this thing. There's just too much plumbing. Super Mario 64, New Super Mario Bros, Mario Party. I mean, next it'll be Mario Taxis, or Mario Swimming, or Mario Typing. Wait, no, that wasn't an actual thing. But the point is, I've been talking too much about Mario, and that's not cool. This guy just isn't blue. Enough. Probably an underrated gem of the DS era, the Sonic Rush series. I've barely played it. Then what the f*** was I complaining for? Okay, real dirty confession here that I need to get off my chest. I suck at Sonic games. I have literally nothing against the series. In fact, I like Sonic. I just suck at it. And that's made it hard to get into some of his games because, well... I'm ass. But I definitely want and need to throw myself at something soon enough, and Sonic Rush seems like a good place to start. The main gimmick of this one is its own unique way of using both screens. The game is essentially vertical, with Sonic moving across both screens at once. What you're seeing here is obviously me recreating each frame by hand, and not emulated footage from a game I legally own physically, so it doesn't really show the full picture of what this game actually looks like while playing. If only we could get rid of this big hinge in the way. Much like Mario Party, this game has Donkey Kong in it. Wait, Mario Party DS doesn't have Donkey Kong? Jesus. In all seriousness, Mario Kart DS is another case of a dignified version of a home console game making its way to a portable system. And yeah, Super Circuit exists. It's a pretty unfortunate event I'm sure we'd all like to move on from, and just a glorified port of Super Mario Kart, so I'm going to ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Scrubbing away history seems to be a pretty big trend today. The controls are tight, it contains a few real standout tracks like Delfino Square and Waluigi's Pinball, and contains a whole mission mode. Wow! I didn't play it once when I was younger. Oh yeah, the game supports download play too, but you can only be Shy Guy, boo, lame, bummer. Mario Party DS did it better. I'm starting to think something pretty bad. Mario Party, Mario Kart, New Super Mario Bros. Nintendo's been putting a lot of Mario on the system, and I'm starting to get concerned if I don't consider Tingle to be their main character anymore. I've been talking a lot. I should stop. About Mario. I need to actually get to another property before the people get sick of him, because we need to wait until the 3DS for that to actually happen. The Pokémon series got a big boost on the DS, spanning 2 whole generations. Every game has taken a turn at being considered the best Pokémon game, which really concerns me because if we give it a good couple of years, we may see people that consider Pokémon Sword and Shield as the best ever Pokémon game. I haven't had a chance to play through any of them yet. I tried
White when I was younger, but just never finished it for some reason. Then I went through a weird phase of trying to nuzlocke it when I wasn't nearly ready to do that. So, TLDR, please slide the best Pokemon scale up to X and Y, or I'll do it by force.
Okay, right, I get it. The forced XP share, the lag while playing 3D, and just in general making the game so easy it physically hurts to play is bad, but you gotta hear me out. They're better than Black 2, White 2. You have to believe me!
Okay, what else didn't I play on DS? I know it seems like I've been talking about the same type of games for a while now, and that's true. I'm sorry for that. The system was a big chunk of my early childhood. Like, we're talking not old enough to use the 3D screen on the 3DS levels of early childhood. So a lot of the games that I have experience with and can actually talk about is pretty much a whole load of Mario along with Cars 2 the video game.
But let's at least try and spice things up a bit, get some variety into my life. A good friend of mine once told me that the best way to shake things up in your life is to buy a pet you don't intend to keep. So I went out and I bought 10 Nintendogs. These guys are not going to survive the night, are they?
Yeah, this is a weird one. Nintendogs is a game where you own a virtual dog, a dog you can play with, clean, feed, teach tricks, take it to contests, win prizes, get greedy, buy more dogs, compete more, win more, profit off the dogs, sell the dogs, descend into alcoholism due to the depression. Yeah, Nintendogs is pretty weird. It was part of a push to get more of a casual market into gaming, seeing how everything is controlled with this touchscreen UI and the microphone. It's the same thinking as the Wii remote. It's a lot easier to get your grandma to swing the controller like it's a tennis racket, or touch the dog like you pet one in real life, and to say,
okay grandma, to pet the dog, you gotta hold down the R button and then press up on the D-pad twice, then send a formal letter to Nintendo containing your dog's name. Okay? Alright, got it. See you in a year, bye.
There were a lot of games that pushed for this on the handheld, known as the touch generation games. Just really simple games that are simple to control and easy for people new to the hobby. Brain Age, Picross DS, Art Academy, 100 Classic Book Collection. Wait, what? Cooking Guide, Personal Trainer Walking? While some of the touch generation titles like the aforementioned Picross and Brain Age were received well across both casual gamers and scum like me, some of them were just bad. But oh well, from my point of view, it's an incredibly minor chunk of what's most certainly a standout library. Like, I couldn't try and talk about everything good that was released for this system if I tried. Animal Crossing Wild World, The World Ends With You, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story, God Rest Their Souls, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, Phantom Hourglass, Tetris DS. Are you starting to paint a picture? Because this handheld is very, very good.
And we haven't even talked about the sequel yet. Not that sequel yet, that sequel yet.
Around the end of 2006, after the release of the DS Lite, Nintendo began development on a sort of hard step between the DS and the 3DS. It was a weird system looking back on it. It was basically a DS with a camera, UI, and an eShop. I think the main standout, rather than the cameras and software, the removal of the GBA slot and- wait, removal of the GBA slot? That stings. Anyways, I think the main standout of the DSi was quite obviously DSiWare. So many smaller microgames available to download and completely exclusive to the DSi until the 3DS reigned supreme.
In the modern day, I feel like the DSi is sort of tainted in my mind. Like, I know about all the exclusive one-ups it has over the DS, but I feel like all of those are accessible already on the 3DS. So why would I go out and buy a DSi separately?
In 2011, the 3DS released and completely succeeded the DS and DSi. Like, completely. It's got perfect emulation of nearly every available DS game, all the same features as the DSi, its own eShop. It really is just a quote-unquote better DS.
But not to me. The DS, if you haven't been able to tell, was a cornerstone of the formative years of my childhood, and I think it, alongside the Wii, is the very reason I'm even here right now with a big shelf full of games. So if all that rambling didn't make it clear enough, I quite like the DS. And I think a lot of other people like it too. The games are outstanding, the design is super clean eventually. It has this level of charm, polish and nostalgia to it that I don't see people getting over anytime soon. And I can have Subway Surfers playing on the bottom screen at all times to keep my attention. Get in!